Homage to fundamental teacher Buddha Shakyamuni, homage to wisdom warrior Manjushris, homage to all lineage benevolent masters. The Dharma, infinitely profound and subtle, is rarely encountered even in a million eons. Now we are able to hear, study and follow it. May we fully realize Tathagata's true meaning. In order to liberate all sentient beings, please generate supreme bodhicitta. Now we will discuss the words of my perfect teacher. We missed a section in the previous class, and I will supplement it today. We discussed that the 7 negative actions of body and speech have exceptions. Among them, we did not discuss the exception for taking what is not given. In fact, taking what is not given is the same for Bodhisattvas who have no personal desires or impure thoughts, who are bold and righteous. For the sake of some wealthy people who treasure money like their lives, stealing wealth from them and offering it above and below is permitted. Making offerings to the 3 jewels above and giving to beggars below is also permitted. This is mainly what we need to discuss, and the literal meaning is easy to understand without a selfish heart, as a bold, knowledgeable and righteous bodhisattva. For some wealthy people who treasure money like their lives, or for their relatives or others, if you ask them to make aspirations themselves and make offerings above and below, they probably won't. Some are caused by wrong views, some by prejudice, some are caused by miserliness, so they are all unwilling. Then some bodhisattvas, for the benefit of these people, they can steal or rob, or through other means. From their wealth, they can take a portion for offerings above and below. Among some of our Buddhists, this often happens. Someone tells their family that they want to study Buddhism and make offerings, but the family is unwilling. Their family often permits them to travel and sightsee outside. They can often spend money. So they specifically deceive them, saying they are going on a trip. Then they take part of the money to the temple to perform Buddhist ceremonies. There were such cases before. Master Yongming Yanshu also did this for releasing lives. He used up all the wealth from the king's treasury. Later, when the king discovered and was about to sentence him to death, he had no regret for stealing to benefit sentient beings. As a result, the king did not sentence him to death. Moreover, he himself did not violate the precept against stealing. But we must understand that some people may have selfish motivations. Using stealing as an excuse or benefiting others as an excuse, then using the money privately for themselves, this certainly has faults. So as for taking what is not given, in certain situations, that is to say, when there is completely no selfishness, and it will definitely help sentient beings. With such an attitude, there are also times when it is permitted. This passage supplements the above content. Now we continue with the latter part of karmic cause and effect. Even if we have not accumulated negative actions in this life, the negative actions accumulated since the beginningless time of samsara are also boundless, and there must be unimaginable karmic results to be experienced. Even in this lifetime, we cannot recall what negative actions we have committed, but because samsara is extremely long, from the beginningless time of samsara until now. In our consciousness stream on the alaya, there are also many accumulated negative actions. These negative actions will definitely have to be experienced, because these negative actions never get exhausted. In the middle, Nagarjuna also spoke in the treatise on the great perfection of wisdom. The ocean waters may dry up, Mount Sumeru and earth may be exhausted, but the karmic deeds from previous lives will neither burn nor be exhausted. The ocean waters have moments of drying up. Mount Sumeru has moments of destruction, but the karma we create, these karmic causes and conditions, will never be burned by fire or destroyed by other causes and conditions. They will forever ripen in a sentient being's consciousness stream. For example, if we do a good deed, whether offering or recitation, or any good deed, even the smallest bit, then its result will definitely ripen at a certain time. If we commit even the smallest negative action, then once this negative action, it will not ripen in the external 5 elements of earth, water, fire, wind, including space, but can only ripen in the practitioner's consciousness stream. The Sutra of 100 Actions also mentions countless times every case story explains karma does not ripen in the external world, but only ripens in beings' consciousness streams. So in this world, we still have to experience many, many karmas. So everyone should not think, oh, I have never committed any negative actions in this life. Since childhood, I have always liked doing good deeds and never do bad things. How could I experience karmic results and suffering? That's not fair. This kind of thinking shows a lack of understanding of cause and effect for those who now only practice virtue and cultivate emptiness by relying on applying the power of antidote. The karma and latent habits that would cause rebirth in lower realms in future lives can ripen in this life as suffering. This also happens because we now cultivate bodhicitta, emptiness, and so forth, particularly powerful Mahayana teachings, or some skillful tantric generation stage, completion stage, pointing out the true nature. If we practice particularly excellent instructions, then relying on this antidotal power. Originally, we had particularly great negative actions in our consciousness stream. But later, the karma that would originally cause rebirth in lower realms of hell, hungry ghosts, and animals can ripen in this short present life. This phenomenon also exists, as in the Diamond Sutra. The Diamond Sutra is the Diamond Sutra popular in the Han regions. It seems Xuanzang translated it as the Diamond Sutra. Kumarajiva's translation doesn't have the words able to cut, just Diamond Sutra. What does the Diamond Sutra say? Bodhisattvas who practice the paramitas without prajna. Because the condensed transcendent wisdom talks about it too much, so I like to add bodhisattvas who practice the paramitas, suffer harm or suffer extreme harm. This is the suffering karma to be experienced in the future, ripening in this world. This is the new translation. Kumarajiva's original translation has a slightly different meaning from this. Xuanzang's translation has a more similar meaning, bodhisattvas who practice the paramitas will also encounter much harm in this very life. For example, these bodhisattvas who cultivate prajna sometimes get sick, encounter enemies on the road, or have family discord. Various kinds of suffering and obstacles, very great obstacles. And these obstacles are even more intense than ordinary people's, extremely severe obstacles and suffering. What is the reason for this? Is it that prajna was cultivated wrongly? Or when cultivating prajna, does Mara come to interfere, and prajna cannot block it? Is it like this? It's not like this, because the blessing of prajna, its power is extremely strong. Originally, this practitioner would in the future suffer great pain in hell, among hungry ghosts, and among animals. But because of the blessing power of prajna, the great suffering of the future need not ripen in this short present life. It can be resolved through human illness or some obstacles. This karma can ripen, so this is very key. Some of us now. Several practitioners who originally studied the way of the Bodhisattva with us because during the practice process some obstacles appeared at home or their own health was poor and various causes and conditions they later retreated. They said, oh my, when I wasn't practicing Dharma, my body was very healthy. As soon as I started practicing Dharma, my body immediately became unwell. This shows that the Dharma teachings seem to be ineffective. Actually, now in the Han regions, indeed in terms of understanding, there are quite many people who particularly don't understand Buddhist principles. After studying some Buddhism, when they feel they encounter a little bit of obstacles or difficulties, they immediately blame someone and then retreat themselves, but it's actually not like this. When I hadn't become a monk yet, before getting this scriptural citation, before receiving the transmission of the words of my perfect teacher, I received it from a spiritual teacher in our area, there was someone who was said to be practicing very well, but he became very seriously ill. Then I said, wasn't that person said to be practicing very well? How could he suffer this kind of pain? Later, that spiritual teacher quoted this scriptural citation from the Diamond Sutra to me, saying that for great bodhisattvas, for some great masters, manifesting illness is also a normal phenomenon. Then he quoted this scriptural citation, and I remembered it later. Later, when teaching the words of my perfect teacher, oh, this was the scriptural citation that great master quoted. Actually, looking at history, this phenomenon also exists. Some historical records state that when Xuanzang went to India, at that time he was a monk from the Tang dynasty and was very famous. When he went to India, at that time there was an elder Shilabhadra at Nalanda Monastery in India. Elder Shilabhadra presided over Nalanda Monastery and was very famous. Whether in his precepts, wisdom, or concentration, he surpassed many practitioners. He was already over 100 years old. Later, when he met Xuanzang, he kept crying uncontrollably. He kept holding him and crying for a long time. What was the reason? Actually, 3 years earlier, Elder Shilabhadra once became seriously ill. His whole body was unwell. Although he had practiced for such a long time, later he really had no way to resist his illness and afflictions. He thought, forget it, I should abandon this body. I will commit suicide. He prepared to kill himself. One night he dreamed of Manjushri Bodhisattva, and Manjushri told him, you were originally going to fall into the 3 lower realms of hell, hungry ghosts and animals. Because in your past lives you were a king many times, or when you were a king, you did many things that harmed heaven and earth and damaged the people. So this karmic result has never ripened. In your next life, you were originally going to fall into the 3 lower realms. But because in this life you propagated Mahayana teachings and benefited countless sentient beings, so this cause and condition has reduced your future karmic result of falling into the 3 lower realms to today's illness and suffering in human form, so you'd better continue to endure. Moreover, after 3 more years, a practitioner from the Tang dynasty will come to India. You can transmit your teachings to him. In this way, through this cause and condition, your body will become even healthier. Later, this cause and condition indeed. After Xuanzang arrived in India, he received Shilabhadra's teachings. From then on, his body completely recovered. So from this story, we can also see some great masters may manifest illness and afflictions or encounter various kinds of misfortune and unfavorable events. This indeed does not violate the principles of cause and effect. Moreover, for us ordinary practitioners, after studying some profound advanced teachings, whether emptiness teachings or some tantric methods, it's very possible that things in your life become unfavorable. These sufferings are actually future sufferings ripening in this life. Just like in the past worldly affairs, someone was originally sentenced to death. Later, through some other connections, they don't need to be sentenced to death, only cutting off one hand or one ear, etc. This resolves the severe suffering of the death sentence. This principle is not only found in the Diamond Sutra. The meeting of father and son also says, if one commits many evil actions, one should fall into the lower realms. But if one encounters good external conditions, heavy karma can be transformed to light experience. If one commits particularly severe and numerous negative actions, one will definitely fall into the lower realms. But later, by occasionally encountering some good external conditions, the result is that the severe negative actions that would originally cause rebirth in lower realms can be transformed to light experience. Heavy karma becomes light without needing to suffer as hungry ghosts or animals. So some of us may in this very life, after ordaining, often get sick. After studying Buddhism, often encounter obstacles. Even bad moods, suffering, and even going crazy are possible. But through the blessing power of the 3 jewels, future suffering of tens of thousands of years can be resolved through relatively severe human suffering in this life. There's nothing unbearable about that. No matter how severe human suffering is, it won't be particularly serious. Compared to the suffering of the 3 lower realms, it's acceptable. So everyone must understand this relationship of cause and effect. Among us practitioners, after studying Buddhism and cultivating emptiness, various obstacles and sufferings may appear. Also, some people around us may have had everything going smoothly before, but later encountered heavy obstacles. Then we can console them through these teachings so they don't lose confidence on the path to enlightenment. Conversely, people who commit all kinds of evil in this life also may experience good results in the present due to small virtuous actions from past lives ripening, temporarily experiencing some good results, but suffering will ripen in the future. This phenomenon also exists. The following story is briefly told here. It's told more extensively in the Miscellaneous Treasures Sutra. Let me briefly tell you this story. In the past, there was a country where the king was very kind. He was particularly attached to his queen, and their relationship was very good. One day in the palace, he watched the queen dance. Through her dance movements and posture, he could see the queen only had 7 days to live. According to local custom, generally when people approach death, they ordain. Leaving the world as ordained persons, the king clearly saw she only had 7 days. But because he was particularly attached to her, he wouldn't let her ordain. During the 7 days, he required her to accompany him for 6 days and let her ordain on the last day. Later she took the 8 one-day precepts for 1 day and he let her ordain on the last day. When she ordained, "When you leave this world, if you're reborn in higher realms, please give me a clear sign." Later this queen, because she kept precepts for 1 day and the merit of ordaining for 1 day, was reborn in the heavenly realm. Later, after going to the heavenly realm, she came as a celestial being to tell the king. After the king learned this news, he himself had great faith in ordination. He thought, if she could be reborn in the heavenly realm by ordaining for 1 day, then what attachment do I have to being a king that I can't let go of? I must take the path of ordination. Then he passed his throne to his crown prince. This crown prince was called Prince Wangjun. Then he himself went to a quiet place to ordain and practice diligently. As a result, he achieved arhathood and attained the holy fruit. At this time, his crown prince in the palace was influenced by many treacherous ministers' slanderous words and listened to their evil speech. Then, among the people, he committed all kinds of evil and did many bad things. Later, the father king, because he was an arhat, thought to return and persuade him not to create evil after hearing the news of his return. Originally, the crown prince was still very happy and wanted him to return. However, some treacherous ministers beside him instigated, saying, "You'd better not let the father king return. If he returns, you may not be able to maintain your throne. It's best if you think of a way to kill the father king." Later, Wang Jun also listened to the treacherous minister's words and specifically sent someone to kill the father king. This person just arrived there, originally saw that this was someone who had been kind to him. The king had been kind to him. At first he couldn't bear to kill him and was prepared to give up. But if he gave up when he returned, he also couldn't preserve his life. He was also very troubled. At this time the old king said to him, "You should still kill me. It's nothing. I'll give up my life." At that time the person who was sent used various weapons to try to kill him, but he couldn't kill him at all. Later the old king thought of a method. He said, "Take a message to my son. You have both killed your father and killed an arhat. Your negative karma is extremely severe. Quickly repent. If you take this message to my son, then perhaps you will be able to kill me." After he agreed to these words, indeed, just like with the son of King Shilabhadras, he was able to kill the arhat. Then he cut off the head and brought this head back. When bringing it back, he was delayed on the road for a long time, but the color never changed and it didn't spoil. When he arrived at the palace and handed it to his son, he saw his father's head had not changed color. At the same time, after receiving his message, he became particularly sad. He also knew that the father king had already attained the way and was also his own birth father. He became particularly regretful and kept crying there and fainting. He didn't wake up for a long time. This treacherous minister thought, "It seems that king is particularly sad. It's very possible he will blame me later. This guilt may fall on my head. He should think of a way." He said, "Your Majesty, why are you so sad?" He said, "I have already killed an arhat. This negative karma is very great." Then he said, "Impossible. There cannot be arhats in this world. Don't be sad. There cannot be arhats." The king said, "There definitely are arhats. Look at my father. He has been killed for such a long time. His head's color hasn't changed. This is also proof. Also, previously in the palace there were 2 ministers. At that time they also ordained and attained arhathood. Later, they displayed various miraculous powers and supernatural abilities. When they passed away, many relics appeared. We built relic stupas for them, which still exist intact today. Through these phenomena, we can prove that arhats exist. But that treacherous minister, in order to make the king not believe in cause and effect, said, "The so-called existence of arhats is a lie, completely impossible. You think the claim that these two ministers became arhats is false. If you don't believe it, in 2 days I can prove it to you." The king agreed. Then that treacherous minister went to the stupas of the two arhats. He drilled 2 holes in the stupas and put 1 cat in each hole. Then he trained them while feeding them meat, giving them some meat, while calling out the ministers' names, and when the cats came out, giving them meat. After training like this for several days later, when he called the ministers' names, the cats would come out of the holes. Both cats had already been trained like this. So, everyone, don't do bad things in the future. After he had trained them well, he had the king come out. Then beside the 2 stupas, he loudly called out the 2 ministers' names. As a result, 2 cats appeared from the holes in the stupas. Then he said, "You see, how could they become arhats? Both turned into cats, so there cannot be arhats." At this time, the king truly developed wrong views. He believed that indeed arhats do not exist in the world. From then on, he had no faith in the 3 jewels and committed all kinds of evil. Later, once, when the king and minister went out. At that time, Venerable Katyayana was in meditation in a quiet place. When that king saw Venerable Katyayana, he felt that arhats and practitioners do not exist. He immediately used earth to pour on the Venerable's head and ordered those beside him to bury him in the ground. At that time, all the people buried him in the ground. Then beside them was a minister who had faith in the 3 jewels. After they left, he felt very unbearable. He immediately dug the Venerable out from the ground. After digging him out, Venerable Katyayana said, "This king has committed many evil actions. He killed an arhat and did these things. These are also related to his past lives. Combined with these ripening conditions, in 7 days a rain of earth will fall. All the people in the entire city will all be buried by the rain of earth and will die." This minister couldn't contain himself and immediately went to the king. Some arhat venerable said that in 7 days, "Our country will experience disaster, a rain of earth will fall." But the king didn't care and didn't believe it. Approaching the 7th day, first, as we discussed here, a rain of precious jewels fell, followed by rains of clothing and food. At that time, people all felt it was the king's merit manifesting. Where would there be a rain of earth? People from nearby countries and other cities all flocked here, feeling the king's merit was too great. Where would there be a rain of earth? There won't be any. We can enjoy ourselves as we please here. After some more time, suddenly iron gates fell from the sky. All the people wanted to run out but couldn't. They were already sealed in. Then the rain of earth fell. At that time, the minister who had faith in the 3 jewels felt that what Venerable Katyayana said should be correct. So he dug a tunnel underground leading to other cities, just like Lin Biao had a tunnel inside at that time. That day we went to see Beidaihe. Right? At that time, it was said to be over 30 kilometers, quite impressive. In the end, when he left, he also went through that tunnel. He had left at that time, possibly within 7 days. He had many skillful methods leading to other cities. As a result, the rain of earth really suddenly fell. The person who had faith in the 3 jewels had already escaped. All the other people were completely buried underground and all died. That minister and those who had faith in the 3 jewels asked Venerable Katyayana what karmic result this was. The Venerable said, "The source of this karmic result was countless eons ago. There was a beautiful woman who one day, when sweeping on her upper floor, when she poured the dust out from the house, just below the house, a monk on alms round was passing by. As a result, all this earth was poured on that monk's head. After some time, this beautiful woman married a very good husband. Many women asked her, 'What karmic conditions allowed you to get such a good husband?' She said, 'Some time ago, when sweeping, I swept earth onto a monk's head. Generally speaking, pouring dust on a monk's head will get you a good partner.' Her words spread around many women because they wanted to get good companions. Often poured dust on monks' heads, and many people also rejoiced in this. Through various such causes and conditions, now all these people are all buried underground. The cause and condition is like this. So sometimes we sentient beings truly have some collective karma. That day when I went to the scene of the Yushu earthquake, I naturally felt at that time, alas, so many people buried underground. At that time, many people said there were so many people here, so many bodies there. I thought to myself at that time, these people must have previously committed karma together. Hundreds of people, thousands of people, creating one evil karma together. Now when it ripens like this, similarly, everyone experiences such suffering. This is an inevitable law. Some time ago, there was a particularly wealthy woman from Hong Kong. She went to Shanghai for a birthday banquet, reportedly spending several million. That night, per person, it cost 20,000 yuan. Each person's meal cost 20,000 yuan. At that time, reportedly, many famous celebrities from the Han region who believe in Buddhism also participated. Many different media began to criticize them, saying they shouldn't have participated. That night they ate nothing but crabs. How many sentient beings died? In the future, these people, after however many lifetimes, may collectively experience what kind of karmic results. It's truly unimaginable. For example, this kind of incident. Some time ago in Joke County, it was said nearly 2,000 people. One night, around 12 o'clock at night, floods caused the mountain to collapse, all buried underneath, over 2,000 people. So sometimes we collectively, whether 2,000 people, 1,000 people, or 100 people, create karma collectively, and in the future will experience it collectively. This is an inevitable law. If it's individual karma, then each bears it individually. It's not collective karma experience. At that time, after all these sentient beings perished, after death they fell into hell. The detailed story is in the Miscellaneous Treasures Sutra. The Han region also has it in Chinese, so when you have time, you should carefully study these teachings. It can be seen that virtuous people experiencing suffering and evildoers gaining happiness are all karmic results of past karma ripening. Similarly, whether we now practice virtue or commit evil, their karmic results will also inevitably ripen in the future or in future lifetimes. It's impossible that in this very life the karma you create will immediately ripen. This is impossible. The letter to a friend also says, and in the Abhidharma treatise on the establishment of worlds, it says, when evil karma is first created, it does not burn like fire immediately. Like ashes covering fire, it follows and burns the wrongdoer. This means that initially when we create karma, it's impossible for you to immediately be burned by touching flames. It's impossible, but gradually it's just like when we cover fire with ashes. Then gradually when you come into contact, it will burn you. Similarly, the negative karma we create cannot possibly ripen immediately in this very life. When evil karma has not ripened, foolish people consider it sweet. When this evil karma has not ripened, foolish people often say it's very sweet. Creating negative karma has no karmic results. When the karma has already ripened, only then do they know it is suffering and difficulty. When their karma has already ripened, only then do they know it's very painful. There's no way out. So we worldly foolish people, I killed today, I created karma today, and there are no karmic results. Keep saying they are not bound by cause and effect. This is extremely foolish thinking and action, so we should at all times have certainty about the principles of cause and effect, and then accept and reject accordingly. This is very important. We absolutely must not use profound view teachings to despise cause and effect. Good and evil are non-dual. All phenomena are only mind, no good, no evil, etc. There are some profound and mysterious teachings. In Chan there are some. In Great Perfection there are some. Many such teachings, then ignoring cause and effect, despising cause and effect. This absolutely must not be done. So when we ourselves have not yet reached such a state, we must pay attention. As Padmasambhava also said to King Trisong Detsen, he said, "Your Majesty, my tantric view is extremely important. Conduct cannot fall into the extreme of view. Otherwise, if good is empty and evil is empty, dark dharma spreads, it becomes demonic view. Similarly, view also cannot fall into the extreme of conduct. Otherwise, you will be bound by substantiality and characteristics with no opportunity for liberation." Everyone must remember this teaching. What Padmasambhava meant when he said to the king was, "You must understand my tantric view. This is very important." Then how is this important? First, conduct cannot fall into view. In conduct, we must be careful and cautious, not violating the teachings of cause and effect. So conduct absolutely cannot fall into view. If conduct falls into view, then the view also has attachment and characteristics. In this way, from the Hinayana view onward, there's no way it's not like this. Right? Conduct cannot fall into view, because in view, all phenomena are non-existent. When I explained just now, there was a bit... In view, everyone knows the middle way view and great perfection view, all good and evil distinctions, just like what's taught in the Cham Platform Sutra. Everything is non-existent. In this case, then if our conduct is such that everything is non-existent, there's no virtue, there's no non-virtue, everything is completely absent. This way, it becomes demonic view, very frightening. Then our view also cannot be partial to conduct. If your view, like the view of emptiness, or bodhicitta, or the view of great perfection, if it's partial to some conduct, then conduct has substantial clinging, then this way you're always in samsara and cannot attain liberation. So according to what His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok often quoted in scriptural citation, a scriptural citation from the aspiration prayer for the flourishing of the early translation teachings means view is Nagarjuna's view, conduct is Shantarakshita's conduct. These two in union view is tantric view, conduct is Hinayana conduct of individual liberation. When these two are combined, each practitioner is very good. But now often many people are like what? In view, they don't even have Hinayana view of selflessness. The Hinayana view is selflessness and the four Dharma seals. But they don't even have these, while their conduct far exceeds tantric conduct. This is particularly frightening, completely upside down. Some people don't even have basic renunciation and fundamental view of cause and effect. Including in our Tibetan Buddhism, there are particularly frightening cases. Some time ago, they said many people were talking about it. This is very unpleasant to talk about, but there's no choice. I heard there was a tulku, or some Tibetan Buddhist practitioner. He told many devotees, "I'm going to retrieve Dharma from the lake." As a result, he tied a Buddha statue below his knee. Then when he went into the lake, when he went down, he wasn't carrying anything in his hands and seemed to have nothing on his body. Only below his knee, he had a Buddha statue wrapped well with cloth. Others couldn't see anything. Then after getting into the lake, he was going to take that out. That's what he was thinking. He told many people, "You can all watch by the lakeside. I'll go down below and the Naga King will give me a Dharma treasure. So I need to bring this up." As a result, when he went into the lake, he drowned. After a while, when his corpse was pulled up, people had no idea. He had a Buddha Shakyamuni statue tied below his knee, particularly frightening. Even ordinary worldly people wouldn't do this, but there are such cases. Also, I heard there was someone. This is what many outside leaders and worldly people said, but it's actually true. If it weren't true, we wouldn't talk about it. There was someone who, to make devotees generate faith, for a long time kept a copper Buddha statue at his waist. Wrapping it tightly with other cloth, after several days, he secretly took out that Buddha statue. As a result, on his flesh, there really appeared the image of Buddha. Then he showed it to many people. "Look, on my body there's a Buddha image that appeared naturally, how and so forth." Now, in society, even basic, such people, let alone great perfection view or retrieving Dharma treasures, or manifesting truly excellent states on the body, they don't even have basic understanding of cause and effect. Ordinary householders among us would never dare step over Buddha images, but they dare. So this is called good empty, evil empty, spreading dark Dharma. This kind is particularly frightening. They have neither view nor conduct. There are particularly frightening people like this, and such phenomena often occur. So Padmasambhava also said, view and conduct are particularly crucial issues. I hope many of you should understand this principle. Although becoming a Buddhist yourself and not being able to create much virtue, there's no need to create evil karma in the name of Buddhism. I feel this is completely unnecessary. Padmasambhava also said this. Therefore, view higher than space, accepting and rejecting cause and effect, finer than powder. Our view, great perfection, great middle way, Mahamudra, Chan, Pure Land, having the highest view, like the view of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. But your conduct of accepting and rejecting cause and effect must be very detailed, like powder, very meticulous. Don't do even the smallest bit of non-virtue, and do even the smallest bit of virtue. We see how many great masters practice virtue, so we must understand the detailed, particularly subtle aspects of cause and effect. The relationships of cause and effect are not known by us, ordinary beings. Only Buddha knows them. Though empty, it does not cease. Though continuous, it is not permanent. This is taught in the treatise on the great perfection of wisdom. Though empty, it does not cease. Though continuous, it is not permanent. Merit and demerit are also not lost. Such Dharma Buddha taught. Although cause and effect are empty, they are not severed in continuity. Although in the continuity there are always cause and effect, good and evil following each other. But this kind is also not permanently existent. The merit of creating virtue and the demerit of creating non-virtue will also not be lost. Such Dharma can only be expounded by Buddha's wisdom. Only Buddha knows the subtle relationships of cause and effect. Our conceptual thoughts and coarse minds cannot determine the profound mysteries within, so everyone must have deep understanding of the teachings on cause and effect. This is still very important. That is to say, while realizing the view of the true nature, one must meticulously accept and reject cause and effect. Someone asked Padampa Sangye, if one realizes emptiness but creates negative karma, is it harmful or harmless? The question was quite sharp. If someone realizes emptiness and then commits negative actions, is it harmful to this person? Will they fall into lower realms? Venerable Padampa answered, if one truly and completely realizes emptiness, they would never commit negative actions. Why? Because realizing emptiness and generating great compassion are simultaneous. Generally speaking, if one truly realizes they won't commit negative actions or harm sentient beings, these won't happen. And if one realizes emptiness, their conduct of accepting and rejecting cause and effect also exists simultaneously. They cannot recklessly destroy principles and create karma. From some people's conduct, we can see if they create negative karma, they definitely have not realized emptiness. So some people really in society keep saying they have realized emptiness, but the karma they create is quite serious. Therefore, we should know people who truly realize emptiness will not create karma. Even if some people manifest for the benefit of sentient beings, they may display some things, for example like Chan Master Jigong eating meat and doing some things, but this will not harm their view. One who knows karmic results always sees subtle meanings. They are not defiled by evil, like space is not polluted by mud. The Sutra of the Right Mindfulness of Dharma also says this. If one knows true cause and effect, their long-term conduct is very careful and cautious. In accepting and rejecting cause and effect, extremely meticulous. Even if they commit some negative actions, it will not defile their continuity. Just like can mud defile space? Impossible. Similarly, some excellent views. Actually, in the Sutra teachings, I feel the scriptural citation just quoted from the Sutra of the Right Mindfulness of Dharma can correspond with some tantric conduct and view. Everyone can understand this principle this way. If one truly desires to practice the Dharma, then one must place accepting and rejecting cause and effect in the leading position. View and conduct should not be separated from each other, but practiced practically. If you truly practice the Dharma, first is accepting and rejecting cause and effect. This is very important. Moreover, your view and conduct often cannot be separated. Often cannot fall to one extreme. No matter how high your view is, in conduct you should be proper and lawful. If conduct becomes increasingly proper, it shows their realization. Their compassion for sentient beings will become increasingly strong. The Sutra on the 10 levels has many reasoning methods for Bodhisattvas. We can also infer a person's conduct can allow us to infer their view. Then, what is the boundary for the arising of the guidance on the infallibility of cause and effect in one's continuity? It should be just like Venerable Milarepa, his disciples, mainly perhaps Ngenzong Repa and others who asked. They asked Venerable Milarepa, "Venerable, your conduct has already surpassed our ordinary people's realm. Guru Rinpoche, were you originally Vajradhara Buddha or the emanation of some Buddha or Bodhisattva? They said this to Venerable Milarepa. Looking at your many conducts, they are not within our human realm. You must be some ancient Buddha returning, or the emanation of some Buddha or Bodhisattva. Milarepa answered them like this: You think I am Vajradhara, or the emanation of some Buddha or Bodhisattva. This shows you have complete devoted faith in me. This is still very good. For me, you have faith in the Guru, the emanation of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. This is very good. For me, this is a very good kind of faith. For the Dharma, I'm afraid there is no more serious wrong view than this. Because you think, perhaps only ancient Buddhas returning can become such people, while ordinary people, after practicing Dharma, you haven't recognized the power of Dharma. Regarding Dharma, this is a great wrong view. Some of us now often do this too. Such and such Guru is a noble being. He can do it. He can practice. How could we be able to? This kind of self-deprecation, this kind of practice is a great wrong view regarding Dharma. I think everyone, truly like Milarepa, if they see through the world and believe in cause and effect, they can all do it. Any person can do it. Why do I say this? Milarepa explained, Initially, I relied on mantra power to bring down hailstorms. At that time, I also killed people and many animals, creating towering great sins. At that time, I thought I would definitely only fall into hell with no other way out, so I concentrated my energy, focused wholeheartedly, and conscientiously practiced the Dharma. A student said, ye, relying on the profound, skillful key points of Tantra. Excellent qualities arose in my continuity. Later he practiced austerities and relied on Marpa Lotsawa and others. In this way, excellent qualities had already arisen, because you cannot generate faith in cause and effect. This leads to not being so diligent in the Dharma. If you too could generate deep, sincere faith in cause and effect from your hearts, just like me, practicing diligently, all ordinary people with perseverance can accomplish this. In this way, the same qualities as mine will also arise in your continuity, like the same merits as mine. At that time, you too can be called Vajradhara, or emanations of such and such Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Anyone can. Really, this statement is very important, I believe, when Milarepa first started. He was also a complete ordinary person, but later relying on Dharma, because in his continuity he truly believed, I will fall into hell, so he was very diligent. In a short single lifetime, he later maintained he truly attained the state of Vajradhara, so those of us here too. If when first beginning practice we have such devoted faith in cause and effect, we should all be able to attain such fruition. At that time there was also someone, it seems Yepo also asked Venerable Milarepa, your faith in relying on the Guru and your spirit of such austerities. We ordinary people simply cannot accomplish this. Do you have any pith instructions? He said there are no other pith instructions, just believe in cause and effect. If you have faith in cause and effect, this kind of faith in relying on the Guru will also naturally increase. Then, in the process of seeking Dharma, when encountering any obstacles, he's also not afraid and will definitely practice austerities. So the key for us is lacking mental perseverance and not believing in cause and effect. Whether truly practicing virtue this way can lead to accomplishment. Many people are half believing and half doubting, so practice is also unsuccessful. When Venerable Milarepa initially created karma, his firm conviction that he would definitely fall into hell also came from sincere faith in cause and effect. Many of us who create negative actions don't necessarily feel we'll fall into hell. This is because we don't believe in cause and effect. Relying on sincere faith in cause and effect, one practices Dharma diligently. Of course, deeds of austerity and diligence like Venerable Milarepa's, whether in India or Tibet, are extremely rare in both places. In Gampopa's biography, it also mentions when he was leaving Venerable Milarepa. Originally, he wanted to give him an empowerment, but didn't. Later, he wanted to teach him a pith instruction, but didn't. Later, after crossing a river, he left, and after leaving, he said, originally, I had a very good pith instruction to tell you, but I was reluctant to teach it, forget it. Later, Milarepa called him back, and after calling him back, he said, "My best disciple, if I don't teach you, it would be somewhat regrettable." Later he taught him. He took off his clothes. He said, "This is how my austerities were in practicing Dharma." He showed him all the calluses. Later, Venerable Gampopa never forgot this for his entire life. He deeply felt that for practice one must do austerities, constantly practicing austerities. He later also attained accomplishment. Therefore, regarding these key points of cause and effect, we must generate unwavering faith from the depths of our hearts and secretly make the resolution that at all times and places, including even subtle virtuous actions, we will endeavor to practice them while embracing them with the three supreme methods. Even the smallest evil deed we will not do even if it endangers our life. Actually, there are many teachings and things to be taught about these aspects, but perhaps due to time constraints today, I'm afraid we can't finish. I'll read a bit faster when we wake up in the morning. We shouldn't be like cattle and sheep getting up from their pen, jumping up all at once. Many people are probably like this, wiping eye discharge while going to the bathroom. We should sit quietly on the bed after waking up, with mind relaxed and at ease, turn inward to examine and investigate our continuity, whether we had good dreams or bad dreams last night. Observe ourselves. If we had bad dreams or did evil in dreams, we should also feel regret and sincerely confess. Feeling that being this way, even in dreams, is too unreasonable, then properly recite the Vajrasattva mantra and 100-syllable mantra 21 times. When getting up in the morning, first there should be. Many practitioners in the past had this. I've also said this in class 100 times. But I now also hear that many practitioners, when getting up in the morning, are really like yaks getting up from the cattle pen. When yaks get up from the cattle pen, they still shake their tail and sit for a bit. They have their state of concentration. While some of us don't even have this, if we practice virtue in dreams, then joyfully dedicate the virtue to all sentient beings. Also silently make aspirations in our hearts. I practiced virtue last night. That's still acceptable. Today, for all limitless sentient beings, to attain the fruition of perfect Buddhahood, I will wholeheartedly practice virtue and do my utmost to abandon evil deeds. Think this way when going to sleep at night. Also, don't lie down and fall into deep sleep without any recollection. Like a stone falling down, covering yourself with a blanket and starting, snoring like Jubajie, lying there continuously. Instead, sit peacefully and gently on the bed, observing and contemplating as before how to think. What meaningful things did I do during the day? Did I practice virtue? If we accomplished virtuous deeds, we should feel comforted and generate joy, and dedicate for all sentient beings to attain Buddhahood. If I created negative karma during the day, then reproach myself in my heart, I am really too evil. Today, I have already ruined myself. Generate feelings of regret and sincerely confess and vow, from now on, I will never create such negative karma. At all times and places, we should not separate from mindfulness and vigilance. Regarding all appearances of inner and outer containers and contents, don't have deep-rooted substantial clinging. We should train our minds in the illusory, unreal, dreamlike dance, making our continuity constantly abide in virtue and the correct path, making our minds gentle. Our minds must definitely be gentle. Do we have a bit more time? Yes, right? Then don't make me so nervous I forgot many things that should have been taught just now, so I couldn't speak them out. Alas, what a pity, it's already past. Gone. The pith instructions have passed. Well, anyway, the text is relatively easy to understand. Actually, this is very important in our actual practice. When getting up in the morning, we should still have mindfulness and vigilance. We should observe whether we practiced virtue, especially think about dreams. A person's practice in daily life is very related to dreams. If during the day you have faith, joy, and benefit sentient beings, in this case, when you dream, most of the time you dream of gurus, dream of seeking the Dharma. If during the day you constantly rush about for greed, anger, and ignorance, probably in your mind, especially in dreams, you'll have all bad dreams. This is also found in some practice manuals of the Great Perfection. When people reach a certain level, all dreams become good dreams. So this is very crucial. Our daily mental activities are very important. I think in the Sutra on deliverance from illness, there's a scriptural citation I've used before. Negative karma arises from mind. Negative karma ceases from mind. Mind is like heaven. Mind is like hell. This mind of ours is important at all times. If your negative karma of greed, anger, and ignorance is to arise, it also arises from the mind. If our mind is not tamed and not properly adjusted in daily life, it arises from the mind. If we want to eliminate it and transform it into virtue, it's also this mind. So mind is heaven, mind is hell. Whether many of our practices are good or not, depends on whether we can tame the mind, I think, among us people in the academy now. This year we also have a 100-day retreat, which is currently in progress. I think many people's practice experiences are quite good. We can see this from their words and actions. I also often understand during the day through different channels, seeing that everyone is very interested in this retreat. Actually, for a person to have 100 days of retreat in a year is particularly important. If you don't have time for retreat all day, then one session in the morning and one session in the evening is also possible. For me personally, it's indeed also true. There are many affairs at the academy, construction and various other matters, but in the afternoon, during a short period of time, I turn off all phones completely. Otherwise, when dying, there might not be an opportunity for practice. At least for several hours, I still force myself to contemplate all these practices I've learned, especially the preliminary practices. Many of us shouldn't think these are preliminaries and keep abandoning them. The most crucial are the 4 preliminary practices. Repeatedly contemplating the 4 preliminary practices, after contemplating this way, the later great perfection and some other states can naturally manifest. Through praying to the Guru and through many teachings, they can manifest so many of our Dharma friends now. Whether Dharma friends at the academy or Dharma friends in cities, many people in cities, to completely retreat and let go of everything has certain difficulties, but I've now discovered that there are many lay practitioners. They all start when getting up in the morning, using 1 or 2 hours or half an hour to begin sitting quietly and contemplating. When going to sleep at night, it's the same. Some even contemplate repeatedly during the day, in spare time from work. Contemplating the Dharma is very important. Without contemplation, merely hearing theoretically and understanding theoretically cannot resolve your habitual tendencies and virtue. This is particularly important. So here, how to contemplate when getting up in the morning, how to contemplate when going to sleep at night. These are all explained very clearly. We should do this every day accordingly. We've also been doing this for over 20 years. On one hand, some other teachings. Teachings on primordial purity and spontaneous presence are also practiced at different times. Teachings on bodhicitta and renunciation are also practiced at different times. But no matter what, these behaviors don't need to be changed every day. Some of us, today I'll practice tammo, constantly visualizing a flame below the navel, burning and burning. Tomorrow I'll visualize a bindu descending from the head. Of course, there are these practices of channels, energies, and essences. But according to the teachings and transmissions of Guru Rinpoche, now these are all temporarily unimportant. What's definitely necessary, most fundamental, is first from the 4 preliminary practices and 5 preliminary practices, the common 4 preliminary practices and uncommon 5 preliminary practices. Put effort into these. If effort is put into these, many other states, as I just said, can naturally be attained. So when we now practice preliminaries, some people think this is Tibetan. Or some people think this is a practice of our Larungar. I don't think it's like this. Whether it's Tibetan Buddhism's Sakya, Gelug, or Kagyu schools, in other transmissions, they all practice essentially the same with minor differences. Not only Tibetan Buddhism, I feel the teachings of Chinese Buddhism should be applicable here, although it's not obviously stated in the pith instructions. Now practice precious human life, impermanence of life. It doesn't say this. But actually, many great masters' teachings, I've also studied many teachings of historical great masters. Indeed, over these several years, basically, I've translated many teachings of great masters in the current Tripitaka after translating. Each guru's understanding of impermanence of life, their understanding of precious human life and suffering of samsara, are no different from Tibetan Buddhism. Therefore, I think after we have such transmissions and teachings, I hope everyone puts their main time into preliminaries. They must be practiced well. At the same time, it's also taught here, at all times and places, maintain mindfulness and vigilance. Don't have particularly solid attachment to the world of containers and contents, just like what's taught in the Lankavatara Sutra. The three realms are like mirages, illusions, dreams, and spinning firewheels. If one can view them this way, one ultimately attains liberation. This is a very good teaching from the Lankavatara Sutra. Finding rest in illusion also teaches much about being illusory and dreamlike. Don't have particularly strong substantial clinging. If we have substantial clinging, nothing in our practice will be very successful, but you still need to practice genuinely, so the balance in between must be clearly distinguished. We must master this principle, this teaching. The above summarizes the essential points of cultivating the 4 kinds of renunciation. The above has already taught the 4 kinds of renunciation: precious human life, impermanence of life, defects of samsara, and infallibility of cause and effect. I can also say this was taught in the most extensive way possible. Although I myself cannot speak of any profound teachings or pith instructions, but previously I relied on many spiritual teachers. I have strong faith in these teachings, and I myself have gained certain benefits from the words of my perfect teacher. So all the teachings and principles I understand I have taught completely without reservation. At the same time, I also studied a large amount of stories and scriptural citations from Han and Tibetan regions. Some principles from the Tripitaka and treatises, and also made supplements. Previously, Guru Rinpoche and other gurus' teachings were also explained within. I very much want everyone to practice well the above 4 kinds of renunciation. They must definitely be able to arise in each person's continuity. I also used the most time to teach this to everyone here. The latter parts of the words of my perfect teacher, relying on spiritual teachers and benefits of liberation. Then the 5 preliminary practices, from refuge to the practice of Phawa. I think these practices might be relatively simple, cannot be particularly extensive. If particularly extensive, it might take 2 or 3 years to finish teaching. If we teach the words of my perfect teacher for 5 or 6 years, I also don't know if I have such a long lifespan. You also don't know if you have such a long lifespan. So sometimes we should still be somewhat, of course everyone's approach is different. I hear from some Dharma friends below. Some say, you teaching extensively like this is very good. You taught many pith instructions. We also want to understand word by word. We want to understand the profound meanings within. We like extensive teaching. Some people say, they don't say it to my face, but say behind my back, oh my, this words of my perfect teacher, if it's like this, when will it ever be finished teaching? When will it be completed? We can't even hear it completely this way. Only teaching a few lines each day. This way, it's too long. Can't bear it, can't bear it, can't bear it. Too verbose. It's unnecessary to say this. Should teach some profound Dharma. Must have great perfection. Don't always teach preliminaries every day. There are various opinions, so I'll see. I don't necessarily listen to what others say, but I also examine my own mind. Perhaps the 4 preliminaries were taught a bit extensively. The latter parts, slightly more extensive than usual, compared to the above principles, perhaps slightly more concise. This is what I'm thinking. If we can accomplish this, then doing any virtuous deed will naturally not separate from the 3 supreme methods. If we practice the 4 preliminaries well and completely, whatever virtuous deeds we do will not separate from the 3 supreme methods. As the verse also says, virtuous people are like medicine trees. Relying on them brings excellence to all. Evil ones are like poisonous trees. Relying on them destroys all. People with good practice are like medicine trees. Whoever relies on them will have happiness and excellence brought to them. Some evil people who practice negative actions are like poisonous trees. Whoever relies on them will harm themselves and others. Such virtuous, noble beings, through their mind's power of patience, make people who form connections with them turn their minds toward the Dharma, a great master, a good lay practitioner and practitioner. Then around them, near them, everyone is influenced by them and turns toward virtuous Dharma, making their own and others' vast virtuous actions flourish day by day. For lifetimes they will not fall into lower realms and wrong paths, but will obtain excellent bodies in higher realms of humans and gods. Such people are still very rare in our world, especially such great masters possessing the characteristics. No matter where such great masters reside, the local people will also practice virtue and have auspiciousness in all matters. All gods and celestials constantly protect them when a great master resides in any place. Actually, the local people practice virtue. Even the non-humans and deities there will protect them. Moreover, all their wishes and aspirations can be perfectly fulfilled, as also taught in the treatise on the great perfection of wisdom, if a person eliminates all evils, down to having no small faults. Such a person of great virtue has no wish that will not be fulfilled. If there's a truly remarkable great master who destroys all evils, doesn't create negative karma, and practices all virtue, when such a great master resides anywhere, they bring happiness and auspiciousness to the entire place. Moreover, any undertaking of such great masters for spreading Dharma and benefiting beings all receive support and assistance from Dharma protectors, humans and non-humans. So there's no wish that's not fulfilled. All thoughts are accomplished as desired. So some people in our world, although they are just one person, can help countless sentient beings practice virtue. Many people's minds turn toward virtue. This also relies on the blessings of Dharma protectors, also relies on the blessings of their own aspiration power. There are many causes and conditions, so such a person who believes in cause and effect can help many sentient beings. So we hope many of us here from our hearts truly want to believe in cause and effect, then in our conduct accept and reject properly according to Dharma. In this way, others won't find any faults. Constantly slandering, it won't be like this. Your conduct and your virtuous mind will naturally be welcomed by countless sentient beings because a person's selfish mind and evil conduct. Gradually, many people will also see through them. So if you're completely for sentient beings, completely for the Dharma, then no matter what kind of ordinary person you are, gradually your conduct will be like the sun in the sky, radiating light, showing your greatness in the realm of sentient beings. Above, we have discussed the importance of understanding karmic cause and effect. Below, Patrul Rinpoche taught the final verse. Though knowing the distinctions of cause and effect, faith is weak. Though hearing much Dharma, have not practiced. I and sentient beings with evil conduct like me, may we be blessed that mind and Dharma correspond. Although we have already understood the distinctions of cause and effect, but in this aspect our faith is very weak. Basically, in our practice, we haven't acted properly according to Dharma, and we've also heard many teachings of the correct Dharma, but indeed we also haven't genuinely practiced. So Patrul Rinpoche very humbly said, I and sentient beings like me with heavy negative karma, may our minds completely correspond with the Dharma of the infallibility of cause and effect. May all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas bless us and protect us. May our mental continuity completely correspond with cause and effect, just like those great masters of the past. Whenever and wherever we are willing to accept and reject cause and effect and not create negative karma, we want to be able to reach such a state. The guidance on the infallibility of cause and effect has been completely taught.
Bandara, ဘာနာအသောသောတော Bandara Padma Sada Bandara Padma Sada